What is going on? Welcome into the Fin Addicts Miami Dolphins podcast on the Fin Addicts Network. I am your host, Jimmy Kearns. As always, please, if you haven't already, just subscribe to the YouTube channel, Fin Addicts Network. Follow us on Twitter, Fin_Addicts. As always, I'm joined by Brian Byrne, my boy Savak. We got a very special guest today, though. Legendary Dolphins receiver, OJ McDuffie. Check out his podcast, our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google's Podcasts, Spotify. OJ, how you doing today, sir? Thanks for joining us.
Oh, man, I'm doing pretty good. I can't complain. Too much going on out there to complain about too much, man. Just trying to hold it down like you fellas are, man. What's good?
Yes, sir. Not much. Just, making it happen over here. Brian, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm really good. OJ, before we really get into it, we ask you about your playing career and what's going on currently. We gotta solve some controversy here. As you know, you and Seth have both appeared on the dad joke of the day, and we did a little poll over the weekend, and there was a winner, but there was a little controversy about it. So before we get going, I just want to play the video of both your jokes, and then we got a follow-up question. We got to solve the controversy, if you don't mind.
All right, let's roll.
Hi, this is OJ McDuffie, and it's my turn to deliver the dad joke of the day. So today, my son asked me for a bookmark. I laughed and said, after 11 years, how do you not know that my name is OJ?
Hey, Dolphin fans, Seth Levitt here, co-host of the Fish Tank podcast and executive director of the Jason Taylor Foundation. Hope everybody is safe, hope everybody is healthy and finding themselves in good spirits. Appreciate all the listeners for the tank, everybody diving in. Certainly appreciate anybody who has supported the Jason Taylor Foundation or any of the great work that folks are doing in the community. But today, my man Brian Byrne called me out on Twitter, said it was my turn to do the dad joke of the day. With Father's Day right around the corner, I figured this joke will be dedicated to all of the dads who have an underappreciated sense of humor. So here we go. What did the fish say after swimming into the wall? Damn. Thought about it.
I cut him off there at the end. So, OJ, who do you think, between the two of you, you and your co-host Seth from the Fish Tank, who do you think has the better comedic timing? Who do you think nailed that more?
Seth did. He did a hell of a job, man. And he's the one. Here's the thing about it, though. See, Seth got a chance to listen to everybody else's jokes. He got a chance to do some research. Basically he cheated. That's all I'm saying, man. He cheated. He started talking about, his foundation and things like that, man. Getting that sympathy vote as well, man.
He fluffed it up a bit.
He straight cheated, man. So yeah, I'm gonna give it to him on delivery, of course, but he cheated at the beginning, man.
I love the way you did that. Like,
I was just about to call him very gracious and all the controversy's over, but then he threw him under the bus and said he cheated. I know a little inside information about it, so if you want payback, Seth, hit me up, DM me on Twitter. I'll give you a little inside info. You can come back at him. But we'll leave it as that. So OJ did win. He landslide beat Seth on the poll on Twitter.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't even close. Yeah.
He had a perfect winner's response, though, all humble and stuff. Nah, Seth won. Boom,
cheated right after.
But Seth thought maybe if he caught some touchdown passes from Dan Marino that he might have gotten the votes. But
you never know where to swing the votes, man. You just never know where to swing the votes.
I laughed out loud at yours. It was the dad joke's supposed to be a little corny. You involved a son in it. I laughed out loud. I thought it was great. It was wholesome. That's what I like out of a good dad joke.
You should have seen how many takes it took. You know what I mean? That would take like 15 right there.
I believe it because when I had to do it, I sent Brian like 7 of them. He kept sending them back, telling me to redo them and stuff. He already did that one, or this was wrong, or that was wrong. I'm like, man, I don't even want to do this. I'm not your dad, first off.
Discouraging you, right? Discouraging.
Yeah.
I want to see the tape that didn't make it. So our friend over at Mike at dolphinstock.com asked OJ to do it for us. And he said the first week there was a take, and he's like, he sent me one, but he really doesn't want you to view that one. So I'm going to hold on to it. He's going to send you something else. I wish I would have pushed harder and got that first joke that we could have.
It's already been shredded. It's already been shredded, Brian. Already shredded that one.
All right, you mind if we get into a few questions then, OJ? A little playing time?
Let's go.
All right, man. So we all love the podcast. We all love the Fish Tank. It's our favorite podcast, aside from our own, obviously, You and your co-host, Seth, you guys interview coaches, former players. You get into topics outside of football. And what I love, you guys get into a lot of stuff that's bigger than football. Can you tell us how all that began, like how you guys hooked up, where the idea came from?
Yeah, well, Seth approached me with the idea, doing a podcast. I'd done some radio and TV down here, and I just finished the Finsiders doing stuff for the, the Dolphins inside the building, which was a lot of fun, being back in the building. All the guys that retire, the one thing they want to do is get back in the building,
Yeah.
But also one thing that the guys that retire want to do is they miss the camaraderie, being in that locker room and telling jokes or telling stories and whatever. And so that's where the idea came from. Seth is like, when guys get together, and you heard Seth on his joke talk about, his charity events, and, I have my charity events. But when these guys get together, all they do is tell stories, and reminisce. And so he said, that'd be a great idea for a podcast. Get these guys on and tell some stuff that's not X's and O's, not anything about, some plays that were called, even though unless it's a great play, hook and lateral with Tony Nathan, or plays like the spike play, anybody that was involved with that, that's a little different, but nothing that is drawing any plays up or talking stuff like that. These guys just love talking jokes and telling about stuff that happened off the field, in the locker room, something that was funny, something that was serious, and so that became the idea, the premise of the whole thing. And some of these guys that we have on might not be the biggest stars that ever played for the Dolphins, but they have some of the best stories to tell. And that was what we wanted to do. And we've got some guys lined up. We had a good, and like you talked about, we had players, coach or whatever. We also had some beat writers, and we actually did Dave Hyde. We recorded Dave Hyde today, and he has some great stories. Some of the equipment managers from Tony Eggwest to Stu Weinstein as our security guy. Those are the best stories. What we did is kind of boring compared to what they had to do behind the scenes. So that was the fun stuff. So that was the whole premise of the whole thing. And, we just kept getting more and more traction with it and more guys. I think we've done over like 60 episodes now, and we've still got 10 guys that we got lined up, hopefully, to come on, in the next 2 or 3 weeks to get them in the can, so we can, put those out at some point. But that was the whole thing. And I think Seth just uses me, just like in that, the dad joke. He just uses me to, to get some guys on, and then I let him run the show. I'm letting him run the show.
Your access, and then you hand off the other. Yeah, you let him do all that other stuff, the non-fun stuff. You're the access to the cool stories.
Oh, he's the face of the franchise.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Yeah. I'm going off the cuff a little bit. I wanted to touch back on something you said earlier. I'm a vet myself, and one of the things that I miss the most was the camaraderie and the brotherhood, and those late nights just sitting around, just joking and smoking, having a good time, catching up with the guys. Is that one of the things? I mean, I'm sure you miss, snagging a touchdown or cracking someone on a block, but is that camaraderie, that brotherhood, was that something you were seeking back out when the playing career was over?
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, you can't replicate that, as you know, Jim. You can't find it anywhere else, man.
Yes,
some same guys and same mission, but when you get a chance to, relax and have some downtime, we talk about, and for one, thank you for your service, first of all.
Oh, thank you.
And I had an opportunity to go to visit the troops in Germany and Bosnia, and I went to Afghanistan for 10 days. And that was one of the best times I ever had, just hanging out with the guys.
Yeah.
I did the same thing. We're playing cards, playing dominoes at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, man. Just, thinking about other things and what's going on, and what you guys were doing over there, man. So I definitely appreciate your service, man. And you can't duplicate that anywhere. You can't do that anywhere else where you got the same guys, same mission, that need some downtime, the grind, there's really nothing. I mean, you guys, there's really nothing fun about football at times. Most of the time, I say the only fun times in football to me are Sundays and paydays, The rest of it, you want to get away from that grind, the workouts. I hated lifting weights. I love to run, but I hate it when we had to run too much. Practice is just practice, Watching film 6-7 hours a day, there's no fun in that, Game planning is fun, but, I mean, after that, what are you going to do? So, I mean, that was the thing about it, man, was that locker room feel, hanging out with the guys and just chopping it up as much as possible.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in our position, Brian and Savakinos, they lose sight that it's a job just like anything else. So there's aspects that are going to wear you down. So yeah, I dig that. So what, I've heard some of the interviews on the Fish Tank. Who was your toughest interview? Like toughest as in it was just kind of difficult for you. They made it difficult on you, or you didn't know where to go with it, something like that.
Well, they all seem like they're going to be tough, and then they seem like they work themselves out. You worry about guys like we just had Ricky on, and we didn't know if we're going to get one word answer from Ricky or we're going to get, a bunch of stuff. We didn't know what Ricky, honestly, I don't know Ricky personally like that. I've only seen him out, and Ricky's usually pretty quiet. But he was wide open. I loved it. I love the fact that he was, able to, reminisce and laugh about, his retirement, and you laugh about himself being in Australia and cutting his hair off and, without knowing what it looked like. And, and those are the ones you worry about. I'm going to tell you, Seth does such a great job, though, with research, and he knows a lot of these guys. When he came in 2006, he worked with a lot of guys we've had on, but he's got a lot of personal knowledge with those guys because they all trusted and confided in him. He knows a lot of beat writers. Of course, he knows all the guys that worked in the building, in the equipment room or in security. So he's already got a lot of stories ready to go, but he also does the prep work. He calls them up to ask their stories they want to tell. Is there anything they want to get out? And so, he's the one that sets our outline most of the time. I'll add to it if I know a lot about some guys too. And, so we really go in there with a whole list of stuff, and if we don't get through it all, it's great, But if we do, it means that we had to pry some things out, and we got some short answers. But, some guys we thought they were going to be in there were going to be tough. I think once they got on and realized that it was pretty much their show, they opened up a lot for us. Yeah.
I love – you guys have, I think, what is the perfect format, having yourself as a former player and then someone like Seth that just has, so much knowledge and so much want and he can dig into some stuff, and then having your side of it from off the field. I think it's great.
Oh, thank you, man. We appreciate that, man. It's just, different perspective and, just a unique way of doing things, and you guys have your perspective, man. And your pod is amazing, and it's just so many great podcasts that, come together with different ideas, but, all trying for the entertainment value.
Absolutely.
How did the marriage with Miami Dolphin? We should tell people where to find this. The Fish Tank is on. You can find it in Apple Podcasts, any place you can find a podcast. But it's also now on MiamiDolphins.com. How did that marriage just came about recently? How did that come down?
Oh man, we I keep talking about Seth. Seth's been on the grind for us for a long time. You know what I mean? And he's been grinding. We've been doing the show. He just said it. We've been on for 2.5 years trying to get on somewhere. And the Dolphins came to us and they asked, if we'd like to get our podcast on their network. And of course, our answer was hell yeah. We've been waiting for this opportunity anyways. And like I was talking about, guys like myself, we miss being in the building. So now, even though we're COVID zooming out, we're kind of in the building now, with the Dolphins, and they're actually building a podcast studio, in the new facility. I don't know if we'll be able to get a room in there, but we're definitely going to try. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that the Dolphins, Jason Jenkins, thank you, Jason Jenkins, for, listening to our podcast, appreciating our podcast. And even though we have some guys that have been on the edgier side of some of the things they've been saying, they still said, we want you guys on and we don't want you to change anything. We didn't have to change the language. We didn't have to change, the tone, none of that. They wanted it as it was, man. And that was huge for us. So Jason Jenkins and, of course, a lot of guys in the Dolphin organization, they wanted our show, and we were obliged to let them. Well, they wanted to put our show on their network. It's still our show.
Yeah.
They wanted to bleep out any of that Ray Lucas interview that just dropped last week. That would have been a much different perspective if they didn't let you roll.
Exactly right. And we let them know that ahead of time. I think that was the first conversation we had. And we're like, Jason, you've heard our show before, right? You heard Channing, you heard these other guys, and we knew Ray Luke, man. Ray Luke, he said English is his second language, so that, Ray Luke, he was raw, man. And it was real. And, we had to take a couple things out of Ray Luke, interview, but for the most part, we let him be himself, man, and and that's part of it. We got the big E on our podcast, so when you see that E, be ready.
Right on. So if you wouldn't mind wading into some slightly deeper waters, this past May, Miami Dolphins, the NFL, and really humanity in general lost a legend with the passing of Don Shula. and we know you were very close with him. Do you have a memory or a story of Coach that you can share with us to celebrate his life?
Oh man, just the man himself is, was amazing. Me coming out of Penn State, and leaving Joe Paterno and going straight to Coach Don Shula. I was blessed to have two of the best ever in their positions, man. And I was like, I kind of knew what to expect coming from Joe, and the same thing I got from, from Joe, I got from Coach. But see, the only difference was, Joe never cursed. Joe never. Yeah. We got in trouble for cursing at Penn State. But Shula, first day, first meeting, that was all. I learned a lot that first meeting, man. Everybody, coaches. See, even our coaches weren't allowed to cuss at Penn State. So definitely the players, and Joe didn't. But that first meeting at Penn State, for the Dolphins, I was like, wow, this is the real world. But Coach was like, man, he was just such a – I think I saw a lot of different coaches, in terms of Coach. At the beginning, he was really tough, and then as my career went along, he was there. I only was there for 3 or 4 years with Coach, but he started to lighten up a little bit, You saw things like on bye weeks, a lot of coaches want to hold you to the last minute. Shula was trying to get out of town himself by then. He wasn't gonna hang around much longer than he had to, So that Thursday practice was brief in the morning, and everybody was going for the weekend, So I caught him at a good time in his career, in my career. But I think the thing that I love most about him, man, is how he expected so much from his players, demanded a lot from his players, and treat us like men. He treated us like men. You go out there and do your job. I don't care what else you do. Go out there and do your job. Be on time. Be on the plane. Do your job on the field. Do your job in the community. But he treated us like men, and I love that about him, man. And he showed a lot of respect for us, and we respected him, man. And look at the Dolphins. You guys are Dolphin fans. Think about this. We played when we were on in the 90s, and even before that. We were on Sunday night or Monday night four times a year. Yeah. Easily. And that wasn't all because of Danny. That was because of Coach Shula as well. Yes, our teams were good, but you got to have that star power. And we had a star coach, obviously, the most wins, the Super Bowl appearances, the perfect season. But, man, the respect that he got from the league, from the world, from everybody, and you saw it. He was a rock star just like Danny was, man. And, but he didn't act that way. He was just a really great coach in that locker room. He loved his players, man. He treated us well. Everything was first class. I know it starts also, when I got here with the Robbies and Mr. Huizenga and now Mr. Ross. But at the same time, no, man, Coach Shula, he went to bat for us all the time. And we always got the best stuff, because of that.
That's beautiful. So back in 93, you were selected 25th overall by the Dolphins and Coach Shula. What was it like getting that phone call?
Oh man, I tell you what. See, I didn't. We backtrack a little bit. I had a rough. I played in Japan Bowl. Let's go back 2 years from that. Even before that, I actually played in the Fiesta Bowl against Tennessee, and I talked to Joe Paterno about whether I should come out because I was thinking about going pro after my junior year, and I said, well, Coach, I'd like to come back. And he said, well, wait a minute, let me see where you're going to go in the draft. And so that was important for both of us. If I was going to be in the first round, solid first rounder, I was going to leave. But he came back and he said, well, you're looking like late first round, early second round. I said, well, hell, I'm definitely coming back then because I need to get in there and get that first round money. My family, we got to get that first round money. So if we fast forward to, after my senior year and I had a decent senior year, I went to Japan and I hurt my knee in the Japan Bowl. And so then I didn't realize I didn't know where I was going to go at that point in the draft. And so I knew there were a couple guys that were a little bit better than me or that were projected better than me. Curtis Conway out of USC, Sean Dawkins out of California, UCal. And so I knew they were going to go. I knew Curtis was going to be a top 10 pick. I knew Sean was going to be a mid-round pick. And I knew I wasn't going until at least 20, 21. I was rumored to go to San Diego at 22, so I was looking – at San Diego, hopefully, for me, I wanted to go close to home or I wanted to go warm, what I mean? So San Diego would have been fine for me. So I didn't get a phone call. I didn't get one phone call until that 25th pick. And that was Coach Shula asked me if I want to be a Miami Dolphin. And of course I'm like, hell yeah. I can't. I mean, think about it. That year we had so many guys, that we just changed, Clayton, we just traded Clayton. You know, Duper was still on the team. We picked up Urban Fryer, Mark Ingram. You know, we picked up all these guys. So why are they taking a receiver, you know, in the first round? And a lot of people down here felt the same way about it, but worked out great. And when I got that call, man, it was special. And that was the only call I got. And boy, am I happy for it.
As you mentioned, OJ, you know, you get there, you were drafted by the Dolphins 25th overall, but that offseason they had signed Irving Fryer and Mark Ingram. When you got there, like, did you even get a chance to compete against those guys in camp, or was it pretty much walking in, you had to make your mark on special teams, or what'd you know?
Yeah, well, I knew I was going to be a teamer. You know what I mean? I knew I was going to be returning kicks, and that was one of the things they really wanted when they had, you know, those guys at receiver. But, you know, they didn't have anybody on the inside either. Both of those guys are outside receivers. So the key for me was, you know, getting in there and trying to learn that playbook, because a lot of those guys, I know Mark and Irvin hadn't learned didn't know the playbook very much. They had just gotten there as well. But that playbook was crazy, because the playbook was so like had no rhyme or reason for anything. So it was some of the things that Shula just started adding on to the playbook as it, you know, as they started getting new plays. So we could say, I'll give you an example. Like, they can call 84, right? Plays 84. But you can run 84 with one receiver all the way up to 5 receivers. So as a receiver, you got to know the different positions. Like one of them, so you got a split end, you got a flanker, you got a slot, but then you got to have a tight end, you got a running back. That's when you go to 5 receivers. So if I'm a receiver and I'm playing where the running back will play, I got to know all the running back, you know, responsibilities. Or the tight end, which I'm not a tight end, but I got to know tight end responsibilities. You know, so I mean, that was one of the things about that offense, that a lot of these guys already been in it. They knew it. So I did get an opportunity to run with the ones, one camp, and I'm going to say one camp and one camp only, and I messed up. And when you mess up, when Danny's the quarterback, you don't get very many opportunities. So from that point on, I made a vow that I was going to learn every single position on that offensive side. And when I got my chance again, I was going to be able to take advantage. So, I mean, that wide receiver, not only were those two there, but I think Tony Martin was there. You know what I mean? Freddie Banks was there. Mike Williams was there. And one of my good friends, man, that really taught me everything was Scott Miller. Scott Miller was there. And Scotty, who I appreciate more than anything, he was I was really coming in to take his job. You know, he was a return guy. He was probably the fifth receiver, you know. And what Scotty told me is that, hey, if you learn every position and you're out there returning kicks, you'll dress out every game. And that was the truth. You know, that receiver position, being able to go any position when somebody goes down is critical, because as you know, on Sunday, every roster position is critical. So if you got a receiver that can play all of them, that eliminates 2 other guys you got to dress out. And that worked out great for me.
Yep.
Yeah, my follow-up question was, I think you just kind of touched on, but we got a couple of guys, Kirk Merritt and Matt Cole, coming in this year as undrafted free agents, and they have the background in special teams. So you might have just given them your advice, but what advice would you give those guys to make their mark?
Yeah, I mean, that's important right there. What you're saying is it's what they have to do, man. If you're not going to be a starter in the league, you better find your way in on teams. Mm-hmm. That's the bottom line, man. And you want to endear yourself to the special teams coach, because he's the one that's going to fight for you when they're trying to figure out that final 53. The special teams coach is the one that's going to get the last say. You know, the guys that can go in there and be on return teams or be gunners on the punt team or a flyer or whatever it is on the kickoff team. Those are the guys that get those final roster spots. So coming in as a free agent, man, that's the toughest road of anybody. You know, they're going to covet their draft picks. You know, everybody that was hammering, and scouts and everybody that were looking to get these draft picks in, they're going to be coddled a little bit. So the other guys have to work twice as hard to be noticed, and they have to do it the right way. One-on-ones as a wide receiver are critical, you know. And don't sit there and go one-on-one with another undrafted free agent. You got to try to go up against, Byron Jones. Yep. You got to try to get up against, Xavier. You got to go against those guys and to be able to prove yourself and get those opportunities. For me, everybody asks me all the time, like, who's the toughest guy that ever guarded you? And they want me to say, like, Ty Law or Deion Sanders or somebody like that. Troy Vincent in practice every day. Dealing with Troy Vincent was a monster. You know what I mean? J.B. Brown, man, those guys, man, they taught me how to release, because if I didn't, I wasn't going to get an opportunity. So those are the opportunities you have to take advantage of when you're a guy that's fighting for a roster spot, and then be the first one out there and be the last one to leave. Don't be the first guy out of the building if you're in those situations. You really have to do twice as much to be noticed and recognized in those situations. So, just, and stay hungry and stay humble. Bottom line, if a veteran tells you to do something, just do it. Yeah, I mean, it's not that big a deal. If you got to go get Krispy Kreme donuts at 5:30 in the morning, just go do it. You know what I mean? Now he's got your back. As many people as you can get, to have your back, that's the key to longevity, I think, when you're, undrafted.
But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jimmy.
That's just good life advice in general, right? If you want to get better at something, you hang around the people that are better than you at it, and you go at the people, that are good, like you going against, top cornerbacks on your own team. That's how you get better, right? You can pass that on to anything in life. Yeah,
and that's the truth, man. You got a lot of quarterbacks. I'll tell you another thing, some of the guys that play wide receiver, they wanted to get out of there after practice. I had a guy named Danny Marino as my quarterback. This guy could throw all day, every day, and he didn't mind throwing extra afterwards, So if you ask him to throw some extra routes afterwards or throw some extra passes, he's gung-ho, man. And that goes a long way too. Putting in that extra work afterwards, Tua's probably going to want some extra throws after practice. Yeah. I know Fitz. You ask Fitz, I'm sure Fitz will be like, yeah, I got you. Let's go. Yeah. So these guys, if they want opportunities to go out there and get that extra work in, and trust me, there's the offices for the coaches overlook the fields. They're always looking out there to see what's going on.
Absolutely.
Last year, Preston Williams, that's how he made his mark. He made a couple highlight catches on the preseason games, but what got everybody talking was Xavier Howard before preseason game one. He said that, Preston's a number one. I've been going up against him in practice. As an undrafted free agent, how do you even get those reps with the top guys? How did you get against Troy Vincent in your rookie year? How are you getting those reps?
Yeah, that's a great question, because bottom line is it really boils down to one-on-ones, And so what happens is these DBs, they think they're tough, they think they're good, you know what I mean? So P-Dub is out there beating up on some of the guys that weren't number ones and weren't starters. So Xavier wants to step up to the plate, and that's what happened with Troy. I was beating some of the guys that weren't. That weren't starters or second-tier guys, working in the slot. And so that's when I got an opportunity to go against Troy. Or you get a chance to go against Troy when you're doing the other team's reps. So for me, I was doing scout team a lot, so I'll be like number 2 offense or New England's offense going against our number 1 defense. So I get opportunities against Troy that way. And so that's how you get better. So when Preston was doing that, and he was doing scout, doing a show team or, beating other guys – he got recognized. And you talk about, you make big plays, the whole field stops. Aronde Gasson, I think about Aronde when I say that. Aronde made so many amazing catches in practice that when he made them, like, both fields stopped. And they were like, wow, you know what I mean? And that's how you get those opportunities. When you get the ball thrown your way, you gotta come down with it no matter what. And that's what P-Dub was doing, man. And, unfortunately he got hurt last year, but I expect him to come back strong for us.
Absolutely. So year 3, you finally got your chance to take over as a starter. It took you a couple years to break out. It takes most wide receivers a couple years to break out. You may have touched on it on a couple questions ago, but why is it so difficult? I think the wide receiver has it a little bit harder than most positions. Why do you think it's so hard to break out as a wide receiver?
Well, I think Mark and Irvin were playing very well. Veteran guys that, they were just, they were out there playing some outstanding football. So, I got my first year 3, I got my opportunity on the outside. But before that, year 2 and later in year 1, I got my slot opportunities, where I started on the inside. But those guys are, and they were role models for me. I looked up to those guys, and they actually did a great job also of teaching me, the game of football and the game of life and being a professional. So I think the fact that, those guys are playing so well, it's just a matter of just waiting my time and waiting for somebody to either go down or get traded or get in the doghouse. I think Mark got into it with Danny, and that's the last thing you want to do. Is you never want to get into arguing with Marino. You'll never get an opportunity. And it started with me and Danny. I think the reason, I'm gonna tell you this, Brian, and it might not be true, But I think the real reason I didn't get any opportunities because Dan went to Pitt and I went to Penn State.
Oh,
you know what I mean? He didn't want to give me a shot, man. He didn't want to give me a shot, bro.
I can see that.
They take that serious in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's big. Yeah, I can see that. So, OJ, once you did get into the starting lineup, you quickly became Dan Marino's go-to guy, and you stayed that way and in that position until he retired. Can you talk about that relationship and how it formed and progressed both on and off the field?
Yeah, I think it really boiled down to Danny in a trust factor. He knew I was going to be where I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed to be there. He knew he could throw me into traffic at times, but where he protected me, he knew I was going to make the catch or at least make an attempt at the catch. I think it all became I became a security blanket, and that was important. Just the fact that, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, getting that extra work in, after practice. We ran so many routes after practice, man. And, a lot of guys like, man, Danny threw the ball so hard and, did it hurt and this and that? I said, look, I mean, honestly, I had Kerry Collins in college and Kerry throws a fastball. Kerry threw 94, 95 mile an hour fastball. So, so him and Danny were both pitchers, growing up. So I was ready for that. I was ready for the speed. The thing I wasn't ready for is Danny's timing. He wants you to get your head around like Linda Blair, from The Exorcist. That was his whole motto: get your head around, And so that was once I learned that, being where I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed to be there. I mean, we just clicked, and I think that was more important than anything. I wasn't going deep. I wasn't a speed guy, but if you give me that, 15 and under route. Danny and I were able to click at that point. And those are things that move chains. They called me a possession receiver. I said, yeah, I made sure we kept possession of the ball, especially on third down.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't like how that's supposed to be like a derogatory term in the wide receiver world. Like, that's pretty important.
Especially nowadays, man. The slot is more important than it's ever been.
Than any other one, yeah.
I was telling these guys about your playing career. They didn't see the very beginning of it.
Youngsters,
yesterday.
Bunch of youngsters, bunch of kids.
These millennials. And I think that's the word I used to explain to you was security blanket for Dan Marino. Like, third down, everyone in the building knew it was going to OJ McDuffie. They just thought it was hilarious that you used that.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, too, man, and the other team did, too. It's so funny because I think a lot of teams, especially like New England, they're always been innovators on defense. They changed the way they played the game. We got the third down, against those guys, and I move in the slot. Guys like Ty Law and them were still on the outside. By the time I started chewing up those inside receivers, those inside DBs or nickels and dimes, Ty Law started bumping inside. They put their best cover guy on the inside at that point. They said, this is enough with this, So I think a lot of teams, and we started doing that too with Pat and Sam at one point, because they, Pat and Sam, they come with 4 wide receivers. Pat and Sam were still on the outside. Like, okay, we're going to put Pat on the inside and guard your best guy because you want to try to hide him. You want to try to hide him in this coverage. And so I think that it was kind of innovative for us to move me inside, but then defense started getting a hold of that, and they started moving their top cover guy inside as well.
That's got to be one of the best feelings in the game when the whole defense knows the ball's going to you, OJ, and you still dog them out for a catch and some yards. It's got to be awesome.
Well, yeah, I hope I dog them out. If nothing, if nothing, I call myself a wooden duck, a decoy out there. I can take 2 guys. I hope the other guys that are one-on-one get their opportunities. Man.
Absolutely,
somebody better catch it.
Yeah, exactly. So, do you and Dan, you guys still stay in contact today? You guys still talk football, or you guys up on the current team? You guys, chat still?
Well, Danny works with the team now.
Yep.
He's helping with evaluations, and of course, he talks with quarterbacks at times, man. But he's a big part of what's going on over there in the building in Davie. We see each other a lot in terms of a lot of what we used to before we've been locked down for the last 5 months. With charity events, and I see him every home game. I go to every home game. I'm part of the alumni advisory board for the Miami Dolphins. So, yeah, I see him all the time. And, football, we don't really talk much football unless it's about the current team, but we don't really reminisce about the old times. But, we talk about everything else, though. We have a blast doing it. I had my own charity event. I have a bowling event every February. And Danny came, man, and it was like, he's been there the last 3 years, just a drive-by. He's supposed to come by for like 15 to 20 minutes, say hi. He's been there for 2 hours every time because he just doesn't want to leave, So, he's still my guy.
Wait. So was he there when you bowled the perfect game?
No, he was not. He missed that. That was and that's the thing about it too, is like I've never really hung out with football players outside of football. A couple of my best friends are football players, like John Carter is the godfather for my kids. My boy Brian O'Neill was my roommate in college. He lives down here. He played football. He played for Carolina and he played for San Francisco. But everybody else just like, guys that we met in passing somewhere, and we all became like really good friends down here. So those are the guys that were at the bowling alley night at Bowl 300.
Right on.
Are you still Dan's security blanket at charity events? If somebody comes up that he doesn't want to talk to, he's like, OJ over here.
Yes, I am, man. I shoo him away. I say, all right, Danny, that's enough. What the best thing about it is Danny has gotten, he's gotten such a bad rap for, he had gotten a bad rap for not signing autographs and walking away from it. It's tough being Dan Marino. You're at a bowling event, there's 400 people there, and somebody asks you an autograph. Now, do you sit there and sign 400 autographs? Or do you know what I mean? At some point, somebody's got to be a bad guy. So I take pride in being that bad guy at times for him.
Yeah, I don't ever hold that against guys. Everybody wants a piece of you guys, especially someone like Dan Marino. He can't go anywhere without someone wanting something from him, and talk to him at least. So, yeah, I don't blame him.
Now, talking about this current team, you got the opportunity to play under Chan Gailey, who's now the Dolphins' current offensive coordinator. So what can we expect from this offense?
Yeah, Chan is one of the smartest coordinators I've ever met in my life, man.
Oh, wow.
You're gonna see Chan. It's not very complicated. It's very interesting. What he's going to do is he's going to create so many matchup problems. And, you talked about some of the guys that we got coming in that, the Merricks and the Coles, but wait until you see the mismatches that Devontae is going to have, or Albert Wilson hopefully comes back healthy and can have. And if we get Jakeem back healthy, what he can have, and P-Dub back. So many guys, Jasicki, you got so many guys that can create matchup problems. And I think Chan is one of the best coordinators I've ever seen of exploiting those situations. So, we had a 6 count. Sometimes it's on 1, on 2, on 3. We had a 6 count, and usually when you get into a cadence, you get past 4, everybody's thinking, oh, they're just trying to draw us off sides. That's not Chan. That's not Chan. Chan is going to go on 6, and then we go and catch you off guard that way, So just little things like that. It tells you how innovative and how creative he is. But the mismatches they're going to have are going to be unbelievable. And now you're adding a couple of guys in, the Jordan Howards and the Breedas and all the different things we can do with a run game. You bring in some hogs on the line. I'm excited to see what we can do as an offense, because we're going to be able to do things that we haven't done before. Be able to run the football, I think, a lot better. But then you look on the outside and you see that single high safety as a receiver, and you got one-on-one. Chan is going to take. I keep saying Chan is going to take advantage of those situations for sure.
Cool. Did you just drop a prediction here for us that the run game's going to be better than Fitzpatrick's 254 from last year? That's an
easy prediction right there. That's to be a Jimmy. That's an easy one right there. I would think, man. If we can't go with 250 with these guys, man, we're going to be in the same problem.
Yeah, no, it's looking good. The line in that run game is looking strong for sure.
Definitely take the over.
Yeah, right. Exactly right.
So all that being said, how do you see Tua transitioning into this offense?
Well, I just want him healthy first.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key. It's going to be he's going to get his opportunities to battle. They're going to what I love about Coach Flo is he's going to play the best guys, man. Whoever's the best guy at the position, he's going to play him. And if he's healthy, he's going to be playing whenever he's ready to play. I think that he's got a great guy in Ryan Fitzpatrick to sit back and learn from, and a great leader. That's one thing I noticed about Ryan, being around the guys. And, last year I got a chance to talk to the whole team, in training camp. Everybody loves Ryan, man. And you saw how they play for this guy. And he's going – and I think Tua was already coming in doing the right things, saying the right things, wanting to meet everybody in the building. And that's the thing about me. Jim, you talked about my relationship with Seth. Seth and I were buddies from day one, when he was just an intern for the Miami Dolphins in media relations. Me and him, we hit it off right away. And all the guys that are, the Tony Egues, who was who are equipment manager, and the guys that are now like Joe Cimino and Charlie Teal, those are my boys still to this day. I can still go in the training room and Troy Mauer's in there. Those are still my buddies to this day. You know, I think the guys that go in there in that building and they're great with everybody, treat everybody like, you know, we're all on the same team. You know, you work with me, you don't work for me, guy. You know, that's how you have to go in there. And I think Tua is that kind of guy. I know Fitz is that guy. And so I think that Tua is going to get the opportunity to learn from a great leader, you know, that doesn't have the same skill set that Tua has. Tua has a much better skill set. But if you can learn the little things, all these guys that we talked about, these receivers, tight ends, linemen, running backs, they're gonna rally around a guy like Tua. And I think he's that kind of leader.
That's probably the most glaring thing they have in common is that leadership and that charisma and that thing. It's hard to explain, to put a word on it, where guys just want to follow you into battle. Like guys want to rally around you. And yeah, Fitz definitely has that, and Tua has it in spades.
Yeah, man. When you see your quarterback trying to run people over, you know what I mean? When you see him trying to get that extra yard, man, come on. As a running back, if you don't try to get that extra yard, you know, and don't think that you don't go into film on Monday and the coach is like pointed out, like, you know, OJ McDuffie, running back, you know, we needed 3rd and 1 and you kind of went out of bounds right here where you got your quarterback running over linebackers. You know, that gets pointed out a lot of times, man. So he gets those guys doing that, going that extra mile, which they should do anyways. But when your quarterback's doing it, you better be doing it as well.
Did you get called out often for Dan Marino running over linebackers? I'm a little younger, but I don't remember him running over too many linebackers.
No, I think Danny had 17 career yards rushing, something like that. You know, if Danny threw an interception, he wasn't even going to chase the guy down.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? He just let it go. But no, you know, Danny, I think he might have one rushing touchdown, right? One quarterback sneak. I mean, he caught everybody. He caught the world off guard with that one. You know, nobody thought that was coming.
OJ, so we were talking about the running game with Shane Gailey. Don't you think that Jordan Howard is pretty much a replica of what he did in Miami with Lamar Smith? He just looks like a little bit faster Lamar Smith from your last year.
Yeah, he definitely is, man. And, you know, I think, you know, you got to think about also the Lamar Smith situation. You know, Dave Wannstedt was, you know, he's a run guy. You know, and we ran Lamar like nobody's business, and we counted our defense to try to get some stops. I think that, you know, I think that Coach Flo is going to let the game play out the way it is these days. You know, it's going to be a 50-50 or maybe a 60-40 pass game still, and then you can mix in, you know, your Jordan Howard runs. And, you know, I think the most important thing that, you know, teams have to develop, and every good team has, is a 4-minute offense. You know, you got a guy like Jordan Howard that when you need to milk that clock at the end with a lead and get you a couple first downs and a couple tough yards and be able to run it when they know you're going to run it, I think that's going to be the key. And I think Chan's going to be great at calling that sort of thing. But I think that Jordan Howard's a guy that can go out there and get you some tough yards. You can mix in a quick breather, you know. Who knows where Balaji going to be in the mix? You know, Gaskins, who knows where he's going to be? And even Patrick Laird, who came in strong at the end of the season. I think Laird might find more of his opportunities on teams, but I think he's also going to be a guy that if somebody goes down, he's going to be ready to jump in there. So I think that, you know, he's going to want to run the ball, but this league is, you know, it's a passing game, and so they're going to chuck the rock as much as possible.
So OJ, right before we let you go, we got 2 more questions for you. This second to last one is We have a hotline. We like our listeners to call in, ask questions. So this question comes from our friend over at Finsided, Josh Houtz. So I'm just going to play his question real quick.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. It's Houtz here. Thanks again, Brian, for giving me this opportunity to reach out and ask OJ McDuffie one of my questions. Juice, in case you weren't aware, I've told the story many times, but I traded a Bernie Kosar card in the 1st grade for one of your trading cards. Been a diehard Dolphin fan ever since, so if it wasn't for you, Juice, I might not even be a Dolphins fan. So here's my 2-part question. First, what is your overall view of the Dolphins' 2020 wide receiver corps? And then which of these current wide receivers most reminds you of yourself? Appreciate it again, Brian. Thank you, Juice, for answering this question. And most importantly, fins up.
Fins up. Wow, great questions, man. We talked a little bit about this group of receivers, and they're going to be hell to deal with. If Devontae can come back and have a second year, follow up his last year with a great year like he did last year, man, and has another year like that this year, I mean, that's going to be the guy that's going to help us out the most. We talk about if P-Dub can come back and be the guy that he showed us at the beginning of last year on the other side, I mean, that's going to be phenomenal for us. So I love our group. And then if Jakeem and Albert can go down the field again high-fiving, if we can get that speed on the inside again, man, what do you do as a defense when you've got all that talent there if you give a quarterback time to get it to him? And that's one thing about Chan. Chan's going to get the ball out right now. He's not going to hold it. We're going to take some shots down the field. But these guys that are great with running with the ball after catch, I mean, they're the ones that are going to be special for us. So if Albert and Jakeem are great or get back to where they were, it's going to be tough on a lot of teams to be able to defend that. So I love this group of receivers. And it's going to be some tough decisions on cut day or cut down day, and it's tough for guys like Matt Cole and with Kirk Merritt. It's going to be tough on those guys when it comes to that time, but they're going to have to shine some other way in order to get an opportunity because this room is stacked. And according to guys that are like – none of these guys are like me because they're all faster than me. And most of them are probably 3 or 4 inches taller than me. So, I'm trying to think who's tough in there. Maybe Albert Wilson's a tougher guy because, he did play running back at one point in his life as a quarterback. So he looks like a running back. He's built like one. So maybe Albert Wilson, but he's a lot faster than I was.
Guys, you heard it here first. O.J. McDuffie just challenged Albert Wilson to a race.
Oh, that's what I said.
All right, O.J., we have one more really – Savaksan asked you a really tough-hitting – I didn't warn you about this ahead of time, so I apologize. It's going to cut deep, so here we go.
Mm-hmm. Now, before I ask that, I did want to say I did notice a lot of similarities between – I know he's not on the team anymore, but a lot of similarities between you and another receiver that we referred to as Juice, Jarvis Landry. You guys even kind of occupied the same role, same build, that sort of thing. Anyways, moving on.
Love Juice. I love him. And he's playing in my hometown of Cleveland, Ohio.
Right on. So back
that weird Miami-Cleveland connection again.
See?
Yeah, always there.
So back in 2001, you did a United Way commercial where playing Pokemon cards with some children. I have to ask, do you have a favorite Pokemon?
Of course, it's a Snorlax.
See,
it's got to be a Snorlax.
I think I said that. Yeah, I think the guys thought you were going to go Charizard or something everyone knows. I was like, nah, I'm getting like a Snorlax. I think I even said Snorlax.
Man, I bet the farm on that Snorlax, man. That kid gave me business. Now I'm still looking for that kid, by the way.
You said that kid gave
probably
you the
an adult
business.
now. I could probably get at him now.
He took you to the cleaners, man.
OJ, thanks so much for joining us tonight. We had a great time, and just thanks again, man.
I appreciate you guys having me, man. Fins up.
Fins up. Thanks again to O.J. McDuffie for joining us. That was a great interview. Big shout out to him and the Fish Tank. You can check out the Fish Tank podcast anywhere you can find our podcast but also they're on MiamiDolphins.com. Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple iTunes. Please go subscribe to the YouTube channel, Fin Addicts Network. Check us out on Twitter, Fin_Addicts, Fin_Addicts. I'm glad I got that out now with after the OJ interview. But thank you very, very much for joining us. As always, Brian, Savak, it was a pleasure. Brian, you got something?
Yeah, before we get out of here, I wanted to just remind everybody that we're doing a Tua jersey giveaway. You can find it on our Twitter, as Jimmy so eloquently put it, Fin_Addicts. You retweet that post. You find us on Instagram at Fin Addicts Network. You share that story. You follow us on there, and then follow us, subscribe to us on the YouTube channel. All ways to enter in. And then lastly, right when you're done listening to this, give us a 5-star review. Let us know what you think about the show on Apple Podcasts. And ban 2 more entries for that Tua jersey. So jump on that. We're going to be giving it away on July 26th.
A lot of ways to win. That jersey's hot right now, too.
Yeah,
you might not be able to find that bad boy.
I haven't seen it anywhere.
Well, we got one. Good thing we got one tucked away. So we're all over it. All right. Well, again, thank you from the Fin Addicts Network. Thanks to O.J. McDuffie. Thanks for listening. Please hope to have you guys join us next time. Fins up.
Fins up.